Manhattan grand jury has indicted former President Donald Trump in connection with the hush money payment
It is
scheme.
a process that is likely to see him have his fingerprints and mugshot taken.
We do not know yet what is in this sealed indictment.
Now, for those who came late, it all started in 2006 when Donald met Stormy.
I was like, someone should take that magazine and spank you with it.
You told Donald Trump to turn around and take off his pants.
Yes.
And did he?
Yes.
Yeah, not exactly a fairy tale romance.
He's like, wow, you are special. You remind me of my daughter. And this was not a secret. He never asked me not to tell anyone.
But by 2016, the Donald had become the candidate. And on the eve of the presidential election, he decided he could do without the drama. Trump's lawyer paying Daniels $130,000 to keep the extramarital affair off the front pages. So far, so tawdry. And allegedly so illegal.
It's the cover-up. Donald Trump lied in his accounting procedures. He said these were legal fees. The other part of this is those initial payments from Michael Cohen were an illegal campaign contribution. So accounting and campaign finance are the two breaches we're looking at here.
Cohen flipped to give evidence against his boss back in 2018, copping a 3-year sentence for his troubles. Now, New York's district attorney has gone where his two predecessors feared to tread after a former president.
No sitting or former US president has ever faced criminal charges.
The indictment tips the 2024 race into chaos.
If he does get convicted and win the presidency, would he govern from prison?
But if you think this spells doom for the Donald, think again.
Donald Trump is going to want to make this to be as big a circus as possible.
He loves talking about the so-called deep state that's coming to get him, and this gives him that evidence.
What's happened today in Manhattan is an outrage.
We want Donald Trump to be our next president.
Let's be clear, folks. This is communist-level shit. This is stuff that would make Mao, Stalin, Pol Pot, it would make them blush.
Wow, well, Steve Clemons is our man in Washington, D.C. Steve, what's the next step here?
Well, the big thing is that he has been indicted, first time in American history where a U.S. president been indicted. The next step is that he will be arrested. He will go to a police station. He will have his DNA taken. He will have fingerprints taken, and he will have his mugshot taken. So that's the next step in this process.
Steve, I think a lot of people want to know, when will we see him in a courtroom?
It probably will be within a few weeks, where he is brought before a judge and he needs to enter a plea of whether he is guilty or not guilty. And we haven't heard a U.S. president sort of say those words, "I'm not a crook," since Richard Nixon. So it's going to be an interesting moment for all of us, but it begins a very long legal process after that moment.
Steve, it's very difficult to separate the criminal proceedings from the political here. What are the politics of this? I think it's hard for any of us to imagine Trump not using this and turning it to his advantage.
Well, look, he's already raising millions of dollars right now, playing the victim and sending out appeals to his supporters and voters to support him. And we see even his political rivals saying that this is the weaponization of law, the weaponization of the justice process, and going out. We even had Ron DeSantis, his chief rival as he sees it right now, saying Florida won't cooperate if he's extradited, which is funny because he's going to go anyway in there. But I think right now there's a bump for Donald Trump. I think the bigger question is what happens over time. And my hunch is that there's going to be a lot of late-night comedy shows that turn this into a long-running joke, and Donald Trump's going to have a hard time maintaining that sizzle of this moment. Over time, I think people are going to begin saying, who are we electing, who are we supporting?
I feel like I'm having a flashback to the start of his campaign for the Republican nomination. Isn't this exactly how he got there? You know, the late-night comedians making a joke of it, everyone saying there's no way, and all along he was able to play this game and play the system to his advantage.
Well, look, I mean, we have a saying in America that, you know, they don't care much about scandal, just make sure they spell your name right. And Donald Trump followed that maximum and did really, really well. You'd think a lot of people have already seen this show and might be bored, but the truth is that Donald Trump remains very, very popular within the Republican Party, far, far more popular than any other challenger in the party. And a lot of Americans do see this case against him as to being a flimsy one, basically falsifying records and using election law to bring down a former president of the United States seems to many people to be very, very misplaced in this moment. And that's what's getting him support.
That's what I was going to say, Steve. What is it, or is there something that Donald Trump could do that would actually force his supporters to rethink their support for him? Is there anything?
You know, it's a really, really good question. I mean, there was a time where Donald Trump said he had so much support he could go out and kill someone on Fifth Avenue and nobody would do a thing. I hate to put it in those terms, and I don't want to see that tested. But a lot of Americans don't believe that messing around with elections should be a felony. You know, we've all watched Donald Trump. He has evaded challenge after challenge legally of people who have accused him of all sorts of malfeasance and corruption, and none of it has stuck. I'm not saying he's guilty of any of it, but I will say he's good at avoiding, you know, fingerprints on things.
Steve, what a time. Thank you for taking us through it.
Great to be with you.